Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm here at the Vancouver Metal Investors Forum, May 2022, May 15th to be exact. I'm here with Blaine Monaghan. Blaine is the CEO of Pacific Ridge Resources. It's one of the companies that I invited to present here. Pacific Ridge trades on the venture under PEX, and it trades in the U.S. under PEXCF on QB, I think. Pacific Ridge has been around for a very long time. I mean, I've known the chairman forever. I've known Blaine a long time, but I've known the chairman forever. But they really kind of woke up the market late last year, early this year. They drilled 3 holes at a property called Kliyul last year, and surprised everybody. It was a known sort of porphyry target, so I mean, nobody was really expecting dusters, I don't think, but as it turned out, the grades, and especially the gold grades, are much better than anybody thought. That's allowed Blaine to do a large financing. They will be doing a much larger drill program there starting in about a month, and they'll be drilling a second property this summer as well. So why don't you walk us through the plans? I mean, you're going to have, I know last year was tricky. There were, it was a late start, forest fires, driller issues, yada, yada. You've basically done a lot of things to kind of fix that this year, right? To make sure things go a lot smoother.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really tore apart last year's program. I mean, last year's program was really successful in one sense that we returned far better intercepts than what we'd seen historically, but it wasn't successful in the sense that we had actually planned to drill 2,500 meters and we were only able to drill 1,500 meters. And that was largely due to forest fires shut down the access road that we use. And there was, the drillers weren't sort of meeting the meters they were supposed to each day. So we really closely examined what worked well and what didn't last year. And we came up with, I think, a really good plan. And the key to that is getting in sooner, which we are now. We'll be in there mid-June, and hopefully 2 drill rigs will be turning by early July. And again, yes, so increasing the program from 1 drill rig to 2 drill rigs, right, and a different drill contractor. So I think this year's going to go a lot smoother. But I hope we can continue to return the same sort of grades and widths than we did last year. And if we can do that, I think we'll continue to see, the sort of results we did last year. And, for your audience, last year Pacific Ridge started out at 5 cents and ended at 41. It had a 1.7 million market cap, and it ended at 22. And that was based on those results. Yeah. And this year really we're looking to get back in there, and I think we've demonstrated it has the grade. Now we need to show that it has that size potential, and that's a real goal for this year's program. Yeah,
because one of the interesting things about this project is the year before last, after you guys picked the project up, the first year, you didn't drill, but you did this deep penetrating IP survey. And what's interesting about this, and I remember, because I bought the placement last summer. I know part of the plan was you had found there's this big chargeability anomaly, kind of just under these relatively shallow holes. We kind of knew that was, that was supposed to be there, because there was 1 or 2 deeper holes. But suddenly up popped these 2 other anomalies on both sides of the main one that no one knew existed and no one's ever drilled. And part of what's exciting about this year's program is, one, you're going to be drilling holes in an area where, you already got really good results, high grades over long intervals, and I think you're going to take some of the holes deeper, I guess, this time. That's part Absolutely. Of the plan too?
Yeah.
But you're also going to be drilling these sort of outrigger anomalies that look very similar to the main one, that have never seen a drill hole, and they don't come to surface, so.
Yeah, and I like that term, outrigger anomalies. That's good, because that's essentially exactly what they are, and you're right. So when we first acquired this project from Centerra in 2020, we didn't drill it that year, but we did complete a deeper penetrating IP survey, and it showed to us the Kliyul main zone, where most of the historical work had been conducted, was open, and it does remain open in all directions and at depth. But it also identified, those outrigger targets, the Kliyul West, Kliyul East, and they were never identified. They'd never been drill tested. The Kliyul West is undercover. Kliyul East, and it's a bit shallower as far as the signature looks. And the Kliyul East, there is some geological evidence that supported its surface and some pathfinder geochemical anomalies, but they've never been tested. In my mind, I think the Kliyul main zone itself has the potential to host the sort of tonnage that might be required But if you're successful and you hit at Kliyul West or Kliyul East or both, now you're talking about something that has a 1.5 kilometer strike length and would most certainly have that size potential. And that's really the goal of this year's program. Where we're not going to be able to come close to getting to a point where we might be able to talk about a resource, but we're now just trying to demonstrate that it has that size potential. And if we can hit on those targets, absolutely it does.
Well, I don't think you've got the time to drill them this year, but there's some other target, because this is the ridge is really just part of a larger mineralized system. I know. I remember talking with your VP exploration. She was telling me like she clearly really likes this BAP Ridge target. Are you doing anything at the other ones this summer? I know you're not drilling them, or you're probably not going to drill them.
Yeah, well, it is very interesting. I mean, the Kliyul main zone has seen the most amount of work historically. So when we drilled it last year, it had seen approximately 36 holes and only 36 deep holes. And we drilled 3 holes last year. So the Kliyul main zone itself has only now seen 9 holes that got into the porphyry system. And so the Kliyul main zone is just one target of 5 that exists along this 4 kilometer long mineralized trend, but it has seen the most drilling. So what we're going to look to do this year at a minimum, if we're looking to do 6,000 meters in 12 holes, the vast majority of that's going to be focused in the Kliyul main zone.
Right.
We'll reserve a couple holes each for Kliyul West, Kliyul East. But I think you'll see us reserve some meters for BAP Ridge, which is one of these targets that Danette was talking about.
Yeah.
We will, before we drill that though, we will look to do another deeper penetrating IP survey there like we had done at Kliyul. And if we like what we see, we'll stick a hole in there for sure. And we'll also be doing an airborne mag survey over this entire 4 kilometer trend this year also. So, porphyry deposits tend to occur in clusters, and we think that these 5 targets here each could represent a porphyry center, but there's a lot more work that needs to get done to refine them. The Kliyul main zone seen the most amount of work. It's returned some outstanding drill results, so it makes sense for us to focus in on that and try to expand it. But then you have these other potential targets out there that you do want to advance, because they could even be better. You don't know until you drill.
And you've got a second project that you've optioned to a major, and they're going to be doing some, I guess you're going to do the drilling for them, I guess, are you?
Yeah, that worked out really well for us. So when we acquired Kliyul and Redton from Centerra in 2020, that was a pivot for us to copper gold projects in BC. And since that time, we've acquired a number of other copper gold porphyries in BC, because it's our goal to become BC's leading copper gold exploration company. We acquired RDP last year from a prospector, and historically it's returned some really good numbers. And we really liked it, not only because of the historic drill results, but also its proximity to Kliyul. It meant that while we were advancing Kliyul, you had the logistical synergies where it would be easy to advance RDP at the same time. It's only a 15-minute helicopter ride away. Right. So we were approached last year by Antofagasta, who were very interested in Kliyul. And honestly, we just said, listen, you can't get exposure to Kliyul. The only way you can get exposure is making a strategic investment or acquiring the company. And way too early days for them to think about M&A, and they weren't entertaining strategic investments at the time. So I said, listen, that's not an option. But we did just recently acquire RDP, and if we're focused on Kliyul, and that's where we want our budget to go, and that's what we think has the best chances for new discovery, it might make sense if you're interested in RDP to, we could option that out to you, and you could spend, $10 million over 8 years to get to a 75%. So that's what they're doing. And this year will be the first drill campaign at RDP in over 10 years. And they'll be funding that. That's going to be a 1,500 meter program budgeted at about $2 million, but we'll be the operator. So we'll be using those 2 drill rigs at Kliyul, and then at one point in time, we'll then move one of those drill rigs over to RDP, and it'll be based out of the Kliyul camp. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this is a great story. I mean, it came, it didn't really come. It's not fair to say it came out of nowhere, because it didn't. Pacific Ridge has been around for quite a long time. I think I knew John, the founder. I mean, I've known the guy, Jerry, I've known all the guys at some point or another.
It's one of the oldest companies on the venture. It was John took it public in 1979.
Crazy. But, that you've done this pivot that's obviously worked out great to BC copper gold porphyries. And, with what we all know is coming over the next decade, I mean, they're kind of the flavor of the month, flavor of the decade. And You know, Pacific Ridge has pulled some great drill holes in their maiden drill program at Kliyul, and they'll be seeing a program basically 4 times the size this summer, and a program the size of last year's Kliyul program
At RDP.
at RDP.
Funded.
Everything's funded, everything's paid for, tons of news flow, great story. PEX on the venture, PXZF on QB in the US. Thank you, Blaine.
Thank you.
Should
Always
be a fun
pleasure.
summer.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to it.